Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale area modelling. Hello again modellers, and welcome back to the workshop. I'm going to continue the chipmunk repairs. As you've seen in the last video, we repaired the wing root. What I've been looking at just now is there's a section of sheeting here that was very, it wasn't very well done, and there's a split in the sheeting there, and it was actually allowing the whole lot to move up and down and flexing. So what I've done is I've put a piece of 1/4 inch by 1/8 balsa inside there, and then I've glued it through that crack with some CA, some thin CA. So that's now nice and solid, and it's not going to break again. Well, not unless I really apply some force, but it's got it nice and solid. But what it has done is it's left a split. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of filler, and people have asked me what I use for this sort of stuff, and this is what I like. This is Red Devil One Time. It's extremely lightweight. If you go into one of the hardware shops like B&Q in the UK and you pick up a pot and you think it's empty, it's probably the right one. It's very light. What does happen though is it dries out on the top, so it turns into a bit of a powder, which is not quite right. It should have a little bit of moisture in it, not much, just a bit. So if I take a bit from in the middle there and spread it on there, you'll see what happens, and it just sort of spreads out. It's not very it's not terribly strong. It's not meant to be a strong type substance. It's really just for filling cracks like that, and that's it. Give it 20 minutes and it'll be good to sand. When it dries, it's hard enough to to take film covering and for handling and stuff like that, but it's not adding very much weight. That's the beauty of it. That may look like there's a gap there, but there isn't really. Bit of film on top there that's not let go. There we go. Get that off. So what I'm going to do now, once that's had 20 minutes to set, is we'll continue repairing this beastie. Oh, it takes some shutting. We'll continue repairing this beastie, and what I'm going to do next is if we flip it over, we can see that this area here needs repairing. So I'm going to take the film off. We're going to lose these numbers and stuff, so I'm still in two minds as to whether to put it back exactly as it is, or whether to take the vinyls off and do it a different colour, a different scheme, just to tell me that it's now a rebuilt model. It's another model. But anyway, so that's the area we'll be doing in the next few minutes. Oops, that wasn't supposed to happen, was it? Let's just piece that back together. There's a lesson there. Take the cover off. Let's go and find a screwdriver. It's a bit of a loose edge there. You'd think there'd be a doubler underneath there to give the edge some strength. And there was on either side. There's nothing. So we might want to look at reinforcing that. So you can see with this model I've actually fitted these. I'm not sure what the name of these connectors are, but it allows me to connect the wing, which is the light, and the flap and the aileron servo in one go, which makes life a lot easier. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just reinforce that edge a little bit, just to make it a little bit stronger. But we can do that in a bit when we're putting bits back on. Let's get this off, which is what we were trying to do. This is some seriously attached film. So what's happened here is CA has got underneath the covering from the repair and has really stuck it down. So although we could add heat, I don't think that's going to make any difference here. I think this is purely down to the CA. Now I could just fast forward through all of this and just show you the bit that's already done or something like that, but I think sometimes it's important that you see exactly what I do, just in case it's something different to what you do, and it might be worth trying. And obviously if I do something that seems a bit daft and you know of a better way, just stick it in the comments. I'm always happy to learn. I may not follow your advice, but I will listen to it. I do read the comments. But, so what have we got going on here? I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a slot and replace the sheeting just on that one bit. The sheeting comes all the way to the front here. I think what happens is the sheeting overlaps this leading edge strip. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to cut 2 straight lines along here and add some wood underneath, under the edges, and then we'll lay some sheeting in, and we'll do it that way. I think that's going to be the easiest way, best way to do this. Now the wood I've selected here is a little bit thicker. That's 2.5mm, which comes in at, let's see, 3/16. So we'll cut a chunk over size. Yep. Cut a chunk over size, and then we'll fettle that to fit in that gap. So that's my straighter edge. You know what? I'm going to put some packing underneath, and we'll take a little bit of this balsa, and we'll lay it inside there. Like that. Now, that is not flat, so let's do it in, let's do it in 2 pieces. So if we do a piece like that, just tack that in there, gives us a shelf to work with. Now for this piece, I'm going to do it slightly different. So it'll still be a piece of wood like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sand the ends, just to make the ends a little thinner. Trying to generate a curve. Not much, just a little. As you can see, this is curved, but not much. And we put that in there again, just like we did on the other end. That gives us 2 lips to work with, and to make it even more substantial, I'm going to do the same in here. So this is our patch. That should do that bit. Here's our piece. I think I cut it the wrong way around. There we go. So that goes in there like that. So we need to take a little bit off the end. and a little bit off the length. Now, the next problem is going to be, where do we cut it open? So this is where I put some marks on here, like that. These are the points at which I'm going to open sheeting up. I'm wondering whether I can come in a lot closer, because the blocks sit from there to about there. So if I bring the sheeting in a lot further, I can certainly come into the edge of the blocks. Let's go and get an undercarriage block and see how maybe I can bring the sheeting in a lot closer. So here are the undercarriage units. So this is the port wing, which also has the light on it. So it's still a bit mangled, haven't had time to take it apart yet. So as you can see, it goes there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a mark where the metalwork ends. So that gives us an idea. So in theory we could bring the sheeting right up to these lines and leave the minimum hole for the undercarriage to slot into. I'm never really happy with the way this works. I'm happy enough with the undercarriage plates, but that's interesting. Let's have a look at the other one. That one's slightly bent, so we may have to bash that a bit. That one's a little tiny bit bent, but we may have to bash that one as well. Okay, it was good to check those. They should straighten, but either way the plate area is going to be the same. But I was never really happy with this, because when you, this is the wrong one of course, when you put these plates on that way, the sheeting ends here and you end up with this area that's you know, sort of, I don't know, it doesn't look very nice. So what I had wondered if it would be possible to actually just make the screws fit in little holes and then put a block over this that's then sculpted to the shape of the to the wing with holes for the screws. But I'll have a think about it later, but let's just put it back so that it's a flying model again. So we need to bring the sheeting, I think I'll bring the sheeting up to just before those areas. So edge of the notches I think should be okay. So let's draw lines there and there. So there and there. I'm just going to put a little X on these so I inadvertently don't use those. So then the sheeting can go in just like that, and that fits nicely in there. It's too thick. This sheeting is a little bit thicker than the you know, the stuff surrounding it, so it's going to be a little bit thicker. This allows me some meat to sand. So that can go to there and to there and from there to there. So I can cut it across there once it's fitted. And I think, yes, I think that's going to be fine. So really I didn't need to make them quite so big, but it just makes it a little bit easier. So what I'll do is I'll glue it all in so that it all is nice and true and goes across, and we can sand it nicely, and then I'll cut that section out. I think that's going to be the easiest way of doing it. So what I'm going to use is Titebond. I'm just going to put it on the runners in this section here, although some of it may not touch. We'll put it on there, put it on there. Right, that should do us. Get stuck in with the pins. Now, usually, if you've been watching my videos all along, you'll know these pins. You'll recognise them. These are available from the Balsa cabin, amongst other places. I think Al's Hobbies also sells them. But they have a lovely large area for pinning, for holding, so you don't stab your fingers. And they also are very thin and very sharp, which means they don't cause too much damage to the wood as you're going in. Don't do too much splitting. So we'll give that an hour or so to set, and then we'll cut open the edges. While the other wing's drying, let's get the film off of this bit and do the same thing on the starboard wing. I'm wondering whether or not I did that a rather difficult way on the other wing. I did it in one piece and then I'm going to have to cut it. I wonder if it'd be better to do it in two pieces. But so maybe we'll try it in two pieces on this side. So while you're watching me do all this, I can have a chat to you about the Apache, which is one of the other playlists that you've probably been watching. Well, I hope you've been watching. Where I've taken a Piper Twin Apache that was originally designed for radio control, and I've added a bell crank to it. And there's a playlist on this channel that you can have a look. Just look for Piper Apache PA23, and you'll see the first thing I did was actually fit a bell crank. So I cut the cockpit open and took the lid off, got inside and added a bell crank. So this model is potentially going to be flown at in control line scale, perhaps next year at the World Champs if it flies well enough. And so far it flies very well. I'm quite pleased. So we'll see how that goes, but that's the plan. Anyway, a bit of an update on that. I heard from John Thorogood. I hope he won't mind me mentioning his name, but John owns the full-size Piper Apache that's resident in the UK that I've based all my drawings on and everything else. And one of the most difficult things to get in scale modelling is either a plan view, which is ideal, perfect really as a top view of the aircraft, or if you can't get a top view, a bottom view. This allows the judges the opportunity to judge the shape of your model compared to the full size. Now you might say, why does he need to do that when he's got a 3-view? Well, the reason is the 3 views are just drawn by artists and they don't necessarily actually take measurements. And even if they do take measurements, they get it wrong. The chipmunk is a prime example of that, where most of the drawings, in fact 90% of the drawings I've ever seen for a chipmunk, have the dihedral wrong. And a lot of artists that draw chipmunks refer to other drawings that have already been done of chipmunks as their reference. So they're referencing a poor source right from the get-go. So anyway, digressing. John got in touch with me and he's taken some photos of his Piper Apache and he's managed to get somebody to stand at the end of the runway, one of his friends, with a camera pointing up as John did approaches. which I think is absolutely fantastic, John. So a big shout out to John for doing that. Thank you. So I've got some great photographs now of the Apache underside. He also took a very nice head-on shot from the nose, and it's lovely. So that's going to go into my scale docs, and won't give me an advantage, but it's, you know, it gets me going. It gets me a good start. Right, I'm going to keep peeling this off because I'm blathering away here, and I'm wasting videotape. Videotape, cool. There's a blast from the past. So I'll clear all this area off here and get it ready for replacing these bits. I'm actually wondering whether this one is good enough to leave alone, because it is actually quite solid. It's just not very even, so it needs sanding, but you know, a little bit of filler around the edge of that, and that one actually might be all right. And that actually fits really well as well. I think maybe this side we repaired, the other side we repaired more than once, and that's the problem. But I'll keep getting the film off, and I'll see you in a minute. So that's the sheeting, or the film removed around the area. So what I'm just going to try, sanding this just gently, and just see if we can get it kind of a little bit more level. It's a bit bowed, not quite flat. So I'm going to try with the perma-grit block. I think it's going to be a little bit more successful. Let's go for the fine side. That's feeling really good now. Still a little bit of a ridge there, so we'll try and lose some of that in there. If further down the line I have any suspicions about this area, I'll do the same repair that I did on the port wing, which seemed to work really well. But I think this is okay. I think it's sturdy enough. Actually, some of this film's coming off already, so as much as I was trying not to damage this surface, I think some of it will get removed. Now, you've seen loads of videos on how to put this iron-on covering on, so I'm not going to show you all of that. There's loads of my YouTube friends that have their own channels cover this all the time. What is kind of unique on this particular situation is that I'm putting the film over painted film. And that could be interesting. We'll see how that goes. So I've taken the iron up to about, well, exactly 125 degrees C. And they recommend 90 to 100. 125 will do me. That's pretty good. And I'm just going to see if it will go over this paint. It's looking like it is. So that's a good sign. I'm just using it as a tacking temperature, 125. It's going on all right, it seems. What I was concerned about as well was whether or not I'd end up with a really tight edge, you know, a really sharp edge. Sharp, I'm not good at words today, but the step, actually that's really good. It's a really thin step, and I think the paint, when I spray over the top, will sort that out. And that step will pretty much vanish. That's looking like it's going to work, so we might be able to just repair these wings and just cover the areas that are, you know, damaged, and not have to recover the entire wing, which is slightly annoying, as I've just ordered another 2-meter roll of silver Oracover, but it'll get used somewhere, I'm sure. This film underneath is Oracover, or a Seagull's version of Oracover, which I think it probably is Oracover. And then I painted over the top with Class Coat silver. It's called aluminium when you look at the colours, Class Coat colours. And I didn't prepare the film at all. There was no scrubbing, no rubbing down, no scuffing up the surface at all. I literally went straight over the top with paint. And it worked a treat, and it's survived 2 or 3 years of flying and abuse and hasn't come off. Let's run the iron over the whole area, see if we can get it to shrink down a little bit. Remember, this is only at 125, so it's not a really high temperature yet. It's not a shrinking temperature. Let's go up a little bit more. We'll take it to 150. Give it a couple of minutes. Just go over it again. But the edges are nice and, you know, they're not raised. It's not a huge ridge in there. In fact, I doubt you'll be able to see the where the film joins. But I will peel the letters off. I may get away with just peeling 7 and 1 off and touching in. I don't suppose I could paint. No, it will never work. I'll just peel the 7 and the 1 off. See if that lump there will come back up. Now that temperature now is too high, you see, and it's actually melting the paint. Just seeing if I can get the dent to come out, even if the paint is a bit, which it has worked. This is all going to get painted again anyway, but that dent has gone. Let's just see if she'll shrink any better. Yes, that's shrinking much better at 150. But the reason for doing this was just to see if I could actually get the film to cover a repair, you know, over the existing material, to make this easier. With a bit of luck, these will just turn inside. Give a nice edge. And there we go. I think you'll agree that's gone on pretty well for a film covering. You know, it's never going to be the same as a glass covering. But there we go. We'll give it a good wash, give it a wipe down, and before we overspray it. But as you can see, that's pretty good. Very pleased that that's gone over the painted surface. I didn't think it would. I felt sure it was going to lift. And there we have it. Bit of a repair job. Once it's painted, it'll be much better. Right, there you go. That'll do. I'll prepare the other wing. It's going to take a little bit more film to do the other wing, but it's fairly straightforward. But you don't need to see how to do that. This is pretty basic filming type stuff. Alright, if you've enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.